Hi and welcome back to my channel Study Address. I'm Payal, and in this video, let's talk about how to predict the timing of marriage in a birth chart as per Vedic astrology. We'll focus mainly on Nadi and Parashari principles because in my experience, they are not only very simple to understand but also the most accurate. A lot of you actually suggested in the comments in the previous videos that I make these videos using actual birth charts as examples. So this is what I will be doing in this video. The birth chart that I will take as an example to predict marriage is actually from an actual person who contacted me last year to predict the timing of their marriage. And day before yesterday, I received an email from them that the timing in which I predicted their marriage would happen actually is correct, and so they are getting married very soon. So I thought maybe use this as an example to tell you how to successfully predict the timing of marriage in a birth chart. Just a quick note, I've actually changed the birth time to by a few minutes so that the confidentiality in the birth chart remains, but the planetary positions are the same, the degrees are a bit different. The first thing that you need to check always is the promise of an event from the birth chart. Because if, let's say, there is a denial of marriage in the birth chart, then there is not much use to actually predict marriage, because obviously astrology does not override your free will, but that is what you see in the birth chart. Then there is little use in actually predicting the timeline. The second thing is that if you do see a promise of marriage in a birth chart, you check for a rough estimate of the timeline. If it is an early marriage, if it is a medium late marriage, or if it is a super late marriage. Because let's say if the marriage is delayed in the birth chart, then no matter how many right dashas and transits come, they will not really manifest as marriage. They could manifest as, let's say, meeting of interesting people with who show a lot of potential of marriage, or actually having a good time in relationships. But marriage will happen when the right timing comes in life. So after you check for these two things, then if these things match and the age of the person is also right as per their birth chart, then you look into the dasha and the transit to pinpoint even to the exact week in which the marriage could happen. So instead of actually just talking theoretically about which houses to check and which planets to check, let's actually dive right into a birth chart to check what exactly do we need to see to predict a successful timing of marriage. Okay, so let's get started. I have actually hidden everything in the birth chart. There is no personal detail that you can see. You will be able to only see the birth chart and a few other things like the dasha and the degrees, etc. Okay, so I hope you can see this chart. This is a Gemini Lagna. In the 7th house, we have Venus. So Venus sitting in the 7th house is good for marriage. However, in some cases, it can cause delay as well. Now, the 7th Lord is going into 6th house, 12 places away, which is not a very good place for Jupiter or the 7th house. Also, it is a Dushtasthana, so that again is a little bit of problem. Further, Saturn is sitting in the 9th house of luck and fortune, the Bhagya Sthan. Also, Saturn has an aspect over the 7th Lord. And finally, we have Rahu and Ketu afflicting the Aries and Libra axis. There are a few other things in the chart as well that complicate the picture, but mainly these are enough to cause delay in marriage. So this person is already of the right age. As I said, I'm not going to share too much about the person, but let's just focus on this birth chart and let's see when they can get married. Okay, so let's see what dasha this person is currently running. This person is currently running a Saturn dasha, and within Saturn, when they came to me last year, they were running a Saturn and Venus dasha. Obviously, this was a very good time for marriage because Venus is sitting in the 7th house, and planets that are sitting in a particular house are more eager to give you the results of that house even more strongly than the lord of that house. This is just a basic concept in Vedic astrology. So Saturn Venus dasha supports meeting of somebody or marriage. But actual marriage did not happen in this particular time, because there were transits involved as well, which were not very highly supported. So what I predicted to them was that this period would still be very significant, because this is a very strong dasha. Also because Saturn is sitting in the fortune house, okay, and Saturn has an aspect over seventh lord. So this becomes very important. Because Saturn has an aspect over seventh lord, and Saturn is sitting in the Bhagyasthan, Saturn's position in general is very important, even if you look at marriage, because ninth house is also seen when we see marriage. I will actually make a separate video on what houses and what planets to check for marriage. But if I have to give you like a quick idea, then obviously seventh house and seventh lord are important. After that, the primary significators of marriage are Venus and Jupiter for both man and women. The second thing that you need to check is fourth house, especially for women, because for most women, marriage brings about a change in the living situation. We also check for the ninth house, because ninth house is your fortune and luck, and marriage is linked with change in luck and fortune in one's life, because there is another person who enters in your life, and that kind of changes the whole luck and fortune and even your identity of marriage, which is why Lagna also becomes very important, because marriage is something that can change your whole personality, your whole identity. So that becomes an important house to check as well. And when you're getting married, there is a lot of focus on you. So again, Lagna, first lord, also become important. Finally, a house that most people don't check but also becomes important is the 12th house, because 12th house is from where we check for intimacy. So that becomes important as well. So in this chart, Saturn and Venus are both important when it comes to marriage. And this person, when they came to me, they were running a Saturn and Venus, dasha. So again, this was the right timing for them. They were running a right dasha. So immediately I told them that this is a very favorable time. However, due to, the transits at that time, I felt that Saturn-Jupiter period would be more important for them. Okay, because at this point when they came, there was no like person that they had already in their life. They were looking for a partner. So it's not, I mean, it can happen, but it's a bit difficult to immediately find someone and get married to. So I predicted that this is probably the time that they will find somebody, or even get like a little bit of commitment from them, maybe like an engagement or a roka as we call it in India. And after that, marriage would most likely happen in Saturn-Jupiter period. And day before yesterday, they told me that their marriage is fixed to be in some time in August this year. So I'm not going to give you the exact date again, but it is going to happen within this time that I predicted for them. So after you find a successful, like a proper dasha, the next thing that you look for is the transit. At this time, Saturn, which actually is currently still transiting in Pisces. So Saturn is, if you see, is currently transiting in Pisces, and this trend happened last year, I think in March or April. And so this becomes a very important position for Saturn for them, because whenever you have to predict the timing of an event, the first thing that you check is whether Saturn gives you a green light for that event. And how does it give you a green light? By activating a particular house. And Saturn can activate a house by sitting in that house or by aspecting a house. So if you see Saturn sitting in Pisces for this person is aspecting their fourth house. So again, a change in the home environment becomes important. Finally, Saturn is also aspecting the the seventh house, and consequently Venus. So Saturn sitting here is activating three main things here: fourth house, Venus, and the seventh house. Additionally, Saturn is also aspecting the 12th house, which is like a secondary house that we, as we discussed, for marriage. So Saturn is giving us the green light. The next thing that we check is Jupiter. Now, last year, Jupiter moved into Gemini. So Gemini is the lagna of this person. So this becomes an important, again, a very important transit, because from lagna, Jupiter is transiting the first house, the seventh house. This is very important. Also, the ninth house through its ninth drishti. So this becomes a very important transit, which is why I felt that during this time there was a very high chance of them finding the right person. They could even get married, but I just felt that because when they came to me, this transit was, already half over. I felt that it is possible that the actual marriage thing will happen in the next favorable dasha. So this is what happens with astrology. You cannot always just get stuck on a particular planet's dasha. You have to factor in a lot of context and the situation of the person who's asking for your consultation. This is why I feel that the softwares and AI cannot really predict successfully events, because the context and the situation of a real life person are not really there. Anyway, so now, Jupiter moved into Cancer for a brief time period, and then it retrograded, and now it is again in Gemini. So these themes are, very strongly being felt in this person's life. Now, what will happen is when Jupiter will move into Cancer sometime this year in May or June, that is when this event will trigger in their life, okay? Because Jupiter will not only activate Mars, it will also activate the seventh lord in this person's life. And that becomes very important, because if you see, Jupiter here is also exalted, okay? And Jupiter here is again not only exalted but also sitting in the second house again, which is for family and your resources. So that also is of importance when we get married, okay? Because marriage also kind of changes our family structure, and second house is what you see for your family before and after marriage. So that becomes important. Now here's the thing, marriage can actually happen when Jupiter is transiting in Gemini as well, because with this position also Jupiter is hitting a lot of other spots like the seventh house and the ninth house, which Saturn is also currently activating. So that is fine. But I just felt because Jupiter will be exalted in this house, will be activating Mars, will be activating the seventh lord, that is just an even better transit for this person, okay? So this is basically how I predicted. And not to miss that Jupiter sitting in this house at this currently is also kind of activating the themes of marriage. It is not that when Jupiter moves here then the themes will be active. The themes are still active, because all the preparations that you will do for marriage, all the talks, everything is still happening. And the actual event will happen when Jupiter will hit the seventh lord, which is very important, because activation of the seventh lord is also very, very needed in this chart. Also, if you see, the dasha that they're currently running is that of Mars and now Rahu. So this dasha is obviously important as well, because this dasha points towards the themes of the fifth house, because Rahu is sitting in the fifth house in the sign of Libra. So there is like multiple things getting activated during this time. So this is a very highly energized time for marriage. It is not that you get something for 2 months and then marriage will happen. A lot of points in your chart have to be activated for marriage to happen, and this is what is happening in this chart, if you see. So finally, when Jupiter's Pratyantar will come in this period, which is between June to November, this is when the actual marriage is going to happen. And also during this time, Jupiter will be exalted and will be, aspecting the seventh lord. This is why if Jupiter in Gemini could not exactly, give the result, deliver the result, Jupiter in Cancer, exalted state, aspecting the seventh house, could, actually deliver the promise of the chart. So I hope you found this video useful. Do let me know if this is the kind of videos that you would want. If you ask me personally, I also feel that learning from birth charts directly is more fun, is more interesting. You just have to make sure that the confidentiality of the person remains there. So I hope I was able to do justice with this learning style. If you found this video useful, please do not forget to like and share this video and subscribe to my channel. This will encourage me to make more content for you guys. I hope to see you in another video on Starry Address. Bye for now.